least not relative to what I make on my options. Also, real estate involves a lot of administrative stuff, a lot of paperwork, a lot of work you have to do to manage your tenants and all that stuff. And so, even though I do invest, I do recommend. Don't get me wrong, I highly recommend, investing in real estate as a diversification strategy. One of the number one rules of making money is you don't put all your money in one place. That's an extremely important rule of making money. So I recommend real estate as part of your portfolio, but I want you to learn all the different ways there are to skin a cat. I've gotten to the stage in my life where I like passive income. I like and again, because I think about finance all the time. One of the things I really processed was that wealthy people, when they finally get a capital base, meaning you have a little bit of cash and some stocks and things like that, they make their money without doing anything. Real estate requires you to manage the property. Running a business requires you to get up and work every day, and those are great. Those are fun, but there are also a class of people. Like, look at Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is 91 years old. He doesn't work at all, and he makes money because he has a capital base. He invests his money comes back with more money, and then he ends up being richer because his money was out working for him. And so, long story short, that's what this is all about. That's what this whole options model is all about. Um, I even have an acronym I put together for it called the Passive Recurring Income Machine, Prime. And so, if you go to boycewatkins.com, the link is right there at the top, and you guys can join. The 48% discount ends today. But even then, after today, up until July 7th, if you want to pay the full fee of $4.99, you can. Or if you go today, you can get in for $2.59. And that's just something so the offer is good. So feel free to go take a look. And I'm super excited about it because I really like this method. I like this better than any other method I've seen in terms of making money. I like it better than running a business because I've run businesses, and running a business um, requires like tons of work, dealing with tons of people, lots of stress sometimes, and I like it. I still do it, but that's not my favorite way to make money. Real estate. I bought real estate. I was very frustrated with all the paperwork that was required. I was very frustrated with dealing with the Chicago Housing Authority, and dealing with the tenant, and dealing with the property manager, and all the bureaucracy that came with it. And then the income. The beauty of real estate, though, is that typically, if you do it right and you rent out your property, then your tenants actually pay for your property, right? So your mortgage is 1,000, your tenant's paying you 1,400. You're winning, right? You're gonna win from that, but it does come with some complications in terms of dealing with people and dealing with paperwork and all that stuff. Um, and so one of the other wings of making money with the covered call strategy is that it kind of eliminates all of that, right? There's no work. I get up in the morning, I hit 3 or 4 buttons on my phone, and the money's in my account. I don't have to do any paperwork. I don't have to deal with any tenants. I don't have to deal with people. I don't have to have meetings. So it's pretty cool. So anyway, that's my relatively long-winded explanation of why I really think that if you want to be a full, thorough investor, I highly recommend you learn about options as a strategy to kind of sweeten your overall investment strategy as a family. And then if your cash flow isn't where you want it to be, maybe you can find some relatives and form an investment club with your family and pull your money together. You pull your money together, you can create. I will show you specifically, actually, in this program, how you can get together with a couple cousins that you trust, put the money in a joint account, and buy enough shares that you can generate weekly or monthly income, and then just split the income. Like I've seen it happen all the time, and it's a great way to come up. And then what you can do with that income is the thing you want to do, though, is you want to make sure that you're thoughtful about what you do with that money once you make it. So that would mean that you don't just pour it right back into the thing that's making you money. One big mistake people make when it comes to investing is they'll find one stock or one strategy or whatever that's really killing it for them, and they'll pump it all back into that one thing. Well, that's a huge mistake. If you want to see what happens, the bloodbath that will occur if you continuously put all your money back into the same horse, go look at the crypto markets right now. There are people that were with platforms like Celsius. Celsius was like a crypto lending platform, and their whole motto was unbank yourself. So they were kind of the rebels that fought against the whole banking system and all this other stuff. And so you could put your crypto in there, stake it, and or use it as collateral. They will loan you money, or you could go and get these really high rates of return on your investment. Well, Celsius just pretty much shut down on its people. There were people that had all their money in Celsius, and Celsius is like, sorry, we can't give you your money back. And I looked up Celsius and did some research on the company, and I know they're kind of based in Hoboken, New Jersey, but they have offices in Israel and other countries. And I'm really wondering if there's any recourse that the investors have to even go get their money back. So do not, do not, do not. I don't care how well your investment strategy is working. Never ever keep pouring your money back into the same thing. Don't pour it back into the same business. Don't pour it back into the same stock. Don't pour it back into the same anything that you're doing. Let's see. Now somebody says, "What if you already bought the options course?" Ask Timothy. Well, if you already signed up for the options course, and you like an added bonus or something like that, our support team will take good care of you. Just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com. Tell them you'd like to switch out and add something new, and I've given them authorization to accommodate you in any way that works for you and makes you feel comfortable. The options course is included as a bonus for those who want to do the cover call course. I put in the options masterclass because I want you to know the basics of stock options when you walk in the door. And even if you don't know it, we can kind of cover that a little bit. But remember, we're going to cover the sell side of stock options, the income generation side. We're not talking about the buy side. We again, stockoptionsmasterclass.com is where you can go if you'd like to learn about the buy side and straddles and strangles and butterflies and condors and all the different ways you can make money buying options. I think buying options is fine. I think it can work. But remember, whenever an option is bought, it's also being sold. In order for there to be a buyer, there must be a seller. It's like if a man goes to a nightclub and says, I met a girl or I met a woman, there has to be a woman in that club too, right? There has to be some woman who wants to meet a man, right? Every yin must have a yang. So what people forget about options is, so people are jumping to options. A lot of retail investors jumped into options. A lot of Reddit traders and Wall Street bets types, meme stock traders jumped into options because options feel like gambling. You're basically taking on this risk, putting up a little bit of money, and you're rolling the dice, hoping that it flips and turns into a lot of money really fast. That's a beautiful strategy, and it sounds like a lot of fun when the market's going up because people were making money overnight. And then they'd go to the internet and say, hey, look at how much money I made. And everybody would start doing what they were doing. Well, what they forget is that on the other side of that deal are the people who were selling the options to that person. I've never really been a big buyer of options. I've always been a seller because the seller has a different objective. The seller just says, look, I just want my money. You can roll the dice. You can have fun. You can go to the casino all day long, but I want to be the house. I don't want to be the gambler at the roulette table who is putting all their money on black or on red. I want to be the Venetian. I want to be MGM. I want to let you can take my stock and you can gamble with it and do whatever you want. Just pay me and give me a fee, and I keep that fee whether you win or you lose. And so if you the buyer of the option is looking for risk, the seller of the option is offloading risk, is getting rid of risk, right? And because I'm a family man and because I want to have consistent income, and also because I'm not a greedy person, I don't need to have all the money. I don't need to make all the money. I just want to make my share. I want to make sure me and my family are comfortable. I don't mind sharing some of the upside with people that want to buy my options. So I sell options every single week. I've done it for a long time. I've made a ton of money doing it, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very easy. It's better than running a business because, again, it doesn't require any work. So the options masterclass, or that particular strand of the Black Book Bootcamp, the cover called Writing Strategy Bootcamp, starts July 7th. July 7th, we're going to meet July 7th at 8 p.m. I'm going to meet for 4 weeks, July 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th. Everything will be recorded. So if you miss class, the recordings are available to you for life. The slides are available to you for life. You can bring your family in if you want to. That's totally fine. And in fact, I encourage it heavily. We're very family oriented in the Black Business School. And so I encourage you to bring your kids and anybody, because I really believe that, let me just say it like this. I'm going to say it like this. I'm picking up my son tomorrow from college, and he's 19 years old. And now he's, not my biological son, but I see myself as a black man. I see myself responsible for the black community. So he's my wife's son, but that's really my son. And so my job is to prepare him for life. So he's in college. He's going to be an engineer. Engineers make good money. But literally, when I sat down and talked to him about money, I said, yeah, you could go and make good grades and get a great job, which I think you should do. You should make good grades anyway. But let me really show you how to make money without all that crazy work, without all that chaos. Let me show you how I make money. I'm gonna make $5,000 right now, and I did it on my phone. He couldn't believe it. He really that I use personally, and we start July 7th. So if you go to boycewatkins.com, right there at the top, there's a link where you can get the discount. The discount ends today, but you can still sign up afterward. It goes back to full price, but the discount is today. So feel free to go to boycewatkins.com and click the link, and you can join. All right. So let me tell you guys something. One other thing. Let's get back to the market now. Right now, we are in a recession, pretty much. A lot of people say the recession's coming and all these other things, but there are a lot of experts who are making the argument that we're already there. We're already in the downturn. We've already got the elements of what they call stagflation. We've already got pretty high inflation. There is supposed to be, according to Frank Luntz, a pollster. There's supposed to be an explosion of inflation sentiment that occurs around July 4th when because July 4th is a time where people do two things. They buy lots of gas and they buy lots of food. They travel to see relatives, so they fill up the tank, and then they get sticker shock because they find out it costs, $60 to fill up their tank, and it used to cost $30 or whatever. And and then also they go to the grocery store and they're like, oh my God, the bananas now are double the price and all the food costs so much more than it did before. All right. Well, so July 4th is supposed to kind of be this sort of D-Day on inflation where people suddenly become aware of it, and it has some political implications. It can also have some market implications because what happens is that as inflation moves, you can be in a scenario where anticipated inflation also goes up. And so when anticipated or expected inflation goes up, you're dealing with the fact that it's not even a matter of it being real anymore. It's a matter of what people think and what people feel. So that could cause some pain in the market in the next few weeks, next few months. Also, you're seeing some slowdowns in the mortgage market. You're also seeing slowdowns in terms of corporations having to adjust their earnings expectations because the inflation on the producer side has gotten so high. So all these things are expected to occur, but the reality is that all that's already being priced into the market. Remember, the stock market is what they call a forward-looking indicator. A forward-looking indicator means that they live in the future. I'm kind of like that too. I don't live in the present. I live in the future. I'm always thinking about like where Black people going to be in the year 2060 or 2070, right? I don't, 2022 isn't as much of interest to me as 2030, 2040, 2050 because you can control that. You can do things now that will put yourself in a power position or your community in the power position, right? So the stock market looks ahead, and the stock market is already pricing in a recession. They're already pricing in inflation. And so, and the news can't get a whole lot worse, except maybe if there was like a nuclear war or something, God forbid. That then at that point you're dealing with a whole different set of dynamics. So ultimately, because all this has been priced in, we're kind of already there, right? So for investors, this is a great opportunity because now you can go in and buy assets relatively cheap. You can go in and make certain moves, and because the recovery is going to come. But the thing you must understand though, is that you may have to wait a year to really start seeing it on a consistent basis. Like today, you've got a great, market, everything's going up. I don't believe that's going to last all week. I believe that some point during the week, you're going to start seeing red where you once saw green. And I believe that I don't know what the catalyst is going to be, but I believe it's going to kind of be the thing that really reflects where the market actually is. You're not. It's like being in a bad relationship. Have you ever been in a bad relationship? The tricky thing about bad relationships, or maybe you're dating, or maybe if you haven't been a bad, or imagine like you're dating an ex that you had a terrible relationship with, and you haven't seen them for 6 months, so y'all get together and y'all have a wonderful time, and you start falling in love again with this person that you know is toxic, and everything's great and everything's wonderful. But what inevitably happens? Inevitably, he comes back or she comes back and shows you exactly why you left the relationship in the first place, right? They remind you of why they disgusted you so much to begin with. So the stock market is kind of doing that now. I believe the stock market is flirting with you. It's saying, hey, you know what? Good times are back again. All the pain is over. We're going to move forward now. We're starting over, baby. I promise I won't abuse you anymore. But don't believe it. Don't buy into it. The market is probably going to give you a little bit more disappointment, but again, it's only disappointment in the eye of the beholder. It could actually be seen as an opportunity if you are a long-term investor. Okay. Now, someone asked a question. They said, "Can my daughter take advantage of my membership in the program if I sign up?" Yeah, yeah. I don't. We don't really in the Black Business School. We ask you all to be as respectful as you can about signing up and stuff like that. Like not don't share it with just everybody, but if you share it with family members, we don't police you. We live on an honor system, and so ultimately, our approach in the Black Business School is we want to make as much money as we need in order to pay our staff and to pay our team, and because it does cost money to run the Black Business School. We have a whole team of Black people that we pay. However, we don't charge as much as we know that we could. We're not going to charge you $10,000 for a class like they did it when you're in college. We see some online programs where they'll charge you $2, $3, $4,000 to do basic stuff that's really simple for being, for someone like me. But I don't say anything. It's just the way the world is. But the $499 price point is a price point that we think is fair because number one, you're going to get 10 times more value. And if you don't feel like you got it, then, you can get a refund. And then also the discount is there for those of you that, where the money's super tight. But the reality, here's the deal. It's not a charity. We don't want your charity, and it's not an expense. We do not want you to spend money in the Black Business School. We want you to invest in yourself. And don't even invest in us, invest in yourself. So, okay, I signed up for Dr. Boyce's program. You know what I'm all about. I've been sitting here consistently every day. I've probably done over 20,000 videos online. My videos collectively have gotten about 500 million views by now, something like that. So I'm not going anywhere. You know exactly what I bring to the table. You know exactly what I know. You know who I am. So that's what we're leaning on in terms of just saying, hey, it's here. This is what we're going to do. It took 2 years to put this together, and I'm really excited about actually delivering it because I think you're going to love I know you're going to love what you see. So again, if you go to boycewatkins.com, you can sign up there. So feel free to just go there. The link's right there at the top. All right, so let me see here. I'm going to grab one of your questions. Okay, so the question that was submitted by Terrence Tech was, with the recent decline in crypto, is Coinbase on the verge of bankruptcy? If so, shouldn't everyone pull their funds from the platform altogether, including their wallet? Are there any other crypto platforms we should be aware of? I actually trade a lot on Bittrex and Coinbase. Coinbase doesn't appear to be a company that could go bankrupt, but the thing about these companies is that you got to remember is that they lie. They don't want you to think that they're going to go bankrupt because if you think that they're going to go bankrupt, then what do? Well, you take all your money out. So what it does is it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If I think the company is going to go bankrupt and I take my money out, then I increase the likelihood that 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 the bankruptcy is going to occur. So they always sort of give you these statements like, "Oh, we're 100% confident that we're never going to go bankrupt and everything's fine and wonderful." Well, you know what? The CEO of Enron, I can't remember his name, but was it Skilling or something? Or there were two guys, it's the CFO and the CEO, and they said the same thing. But right before Enron went belly up, they got on TV and gave this huge vote of confidence and told their shareholders and their employees everything's fine. And then 2 days later, they were bankrupt. You can't believe these companies because they lie to you. However, there are consequences for lying. If you know, the CEO of Enron and CFO both got prison sentences. One of them died in prison, actually. So you can't go out here lying like crazy, but that doesn't mean companies won't be misleading. That also doesn't mean you don't protect yourself. So here's what you do. Coinbase, I have money in Coinbase. I even still own my XRP. My XRP has been locked up because of the lawsuit. And I'm just going to wait out the storm and give it 5 years and maybe one day it'll work out. But sometimes it doesn't. It's life. That's investing. I would never, ever, 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 never, 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 ever, ever put all your money in one platform, and definitely don't put all your money in crypto. So that means, you can put your money, put a little bit in Coinbase, find another platform. There's Bittrex, there's crypto.com, a few other places. Put a little bit over there. And then that way, if one goes down, you've got your backups, right? But then also remember, crypto is inherently super, super risky, not just because of the fact that it's this whole entirely new currency, but also because there's no banking system to back it up. So if these crypto banks like Celsius go down, there ain't no Federal Reserve that's going to come in and save these companies. With some of these stable coins, they all sound super confident, and they're very blustery in terms of telling you like, hey, everything's fine, and we've got $3 billion worth of Bitcoin to back up and maintain the stability of the system. And then what happens is when the system gets tested, they flop and they fall apart. So I'm not going to run away from Coinbase, but don't assume that Coinbase is 100% safe. But I did buy some shares in Coinbase because I believe that the stock is actually priced relatively low compared to where it should be. All right, so let's see. Natasha says, "Hello, Dr. Boyce. Happy belated birthday." Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it as well as Father's Day. Thank you. And shout out to all the all the fathers, period, that are out here. Hopefully, we're all trying to be excellent fathers, but every father is a father. So happy Father's Day to everybody out there. And they said, which oil companies do you like? You know what? I did some research on some oil companies. I think I like Chevron. I like the dividend. And Shell. Shell is an oil company that a lot of analysts really like. So there you go. So then there's that. Next question. Lydia Crowder says, do you think investing 100 shares in Energy Transfer stock is too risky right now? Ready to buy, decent dividends, still learning how to evaluate a decent company. Well, you know what, Lydia? I looked up that company and Energy Transfer, and I like it. I've deployed all my capital, so I didn't invest in it. But if I had extra capital sitting around, I would definitely buy it as a long-term hold. In fact, I'm gonna put it on my watch list. And next week, when I have some more capital, when I sell my options and get some cash flow from that, I probably will buy some shares of that and just throw them over in the corner and check them out every 2 or 3 years. And so energy. So yeah, you get a Dr. Boyce vote of yes on Energy Transfer. I like that company a lot. All right, let's see here. Okay, so Jan is asking, can you explain what's happening in this article in detail? And this is a Warren Buffett article. Let me share my screen with you guys so you guys can see it. Those of you inside the Zoom, let's see here. So it says here that Warren Buffett's portfolio is full of buyback opportunities, which he calls the best use of cash. Here are three companies with the best hidden dividend potential. Okay. The fact that the world's most famous investor, Warren Buffett, appreciates shareholder rewards shouldn't be surprising. After all, a sizable and predictable return is the whole point of investing. Buffett takes this philosophy seriously and seeks out companies with the most generous shareholder rewards program. All five of his biggest holdings pay dividends, but they also have something else in common: buybacks. Yeah, buybacks are a way for a company to issue a dividend without issuing a dividend. Buybacks, what's another way they pay out their shareholders? They use buybacks, dividends, and stock splits. A lot of companies are splitting their stock because they don't have any other way to give something to their shareholders. Remember, shareholders own the company, so shareholders are mad. Every shareholder meeting is basically the CEO trying to explain to all the people that own shares of the company that everything's going to be okay, and we will give you something. We're going to give you something. So what they do is they'll give them a dividend, or maybe they'll give them they'll say, hey, we're buying back shares of our stock, which will increase the earnings per share, which will ultimately increase the stock price. So Warren Buffett pays attention to dividends and buybacks because as a big shareholder, he makes cash from that. Stock buybacks or share repurchases could be considered hidden dividends. Here's why Buffett's portfolio is dominated by companies buying back their own shares, and why the Oracle of Omaha regularly buys back Berkshire Hathaway shares too. Let's see here. The magic of buybacks. In 2004, Buffett described his thesis on buybacks. Quote, when stock can be bought below a business's value, it is probably the best use of cash. So what he's basically saying is that if you run a company and you own it, and the company's struggling a little bit and the stock price dips, why not buy shares of your own company, especially if you believe in yourself? That will typically lead to a rise in the stock price, not just because of the mechanical increase in the earnings per share, but also because investors tend to have more confidence in owners who are willing to invest in themselves. That is what is called the lemon theory of finance. The lemon theory goes like this. Basically, imagine this. Imagine if somebody says, hey, I want you to invest in my business. And you say, how much you want me to invest? And they say $10,000. And then you say, well, how much did you invest? And they say, I didn't invest anything. And you say, well, if you want me to invest $10,000, why don't you invest $10,000? I know you got it. And they say, oh, I don't really want to. I don't want to put $10,000 into this business. Are you going to invest in that business? Are you going to put money in a business where the person who runs the business and knows the business doesn't want to invest his own money in the business? Well, the answer is no. You're going to say, wait a minute, you don't have any skin in the game. Why do you want to put up my money to risk my money on this business venture where it's heads I win, tails heads we win, tails I lose. Meaning that if the business goes bad, I lose. But if the business goes good, you win, you make money. That's not fair to me. That's not a good deal to go into. So ultimately, when companies managers buy back their own shares, when they put more skin in the game, when they own more shares of their own company, investors see that as a vote of confidence in that company. When insiders or CEOs and managers start selling shares of their own company, well, that tends to lead to a decline in stock price because people look and they say, "Hey, wait a minute, this is nonsense. This is BS. This is absolute BS." Where basically, you're talking about, you're sorry about that. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So ultimately, I'm not going to invest in something that you're not going to invest in. So when shareholders or insiders start selling shares of their own company, then outsiders or investors start walking away from the stock. So ultimately, that's pretty much the theory on buybacks. So Warren Buffett basically, it says here, a buyback program reduces the number of outstanding shares. Buybacks have other advantages. They're more tax efficient than dividends. Simply put, a well-executed buyback plan handsomely rewards shareholders. These programs have become more popular in recent years. In 2021, S&P companies collectively spent over $1 trillion in buybacks, reducing the stock market's aggregate share count by 4%. Buybacks could be just as aggressive at this year as stocks get cheaper. So what they're basically saying is that this year, because stocks are cheap, buyback programs are everywhere. And I personally believe that that this actually is one of the good things about a downturn. What do I think about that article? It's pretty straightforward. There's not much else to say about it. But ultimately, if you hear that your company is going to buy back its own shares, that will probably lead to an increase in your stock price. Stock splits will lead to an increase in the stock price. And also, you may want to look into dividends as a way to get yield or get return on your investment when the market isn't offering a whole lot of yield. All right, so let me hop in and answer another question. By the way, if you have questions you want me to look up or things you want me to research for the next class, just log in at theblackstockmarketprogram.com. Leave your question in the chat or in the link. There's a link where you can leave questions, and I will answer your questions first. All right, so Don says, good morning, good day, Dr. Boyce. I would like to join the covered call options bootcamp that you're currently offering, but however, I have a few queries. One, I'm yet to start buying stocks and shares, so I'm a total beginner. In order to benefit from the bootcamp, do I need to have experience in buying stocks and shares? No, you do not. I will show you exactly how to buy the stock and how to sell the options, how to pick the stocks that you want to actually buy so you can figure out what the income is going to be. There are a variety of tools that I use in order to do that, to go through that process. And I've broken it down into a 5-step process that you can even teach to your children. So no, you don't have to have any experience there. What would help is maybe before the class begins, there is you have free access to the stock options masterclass. And so you may want to go through some of that material, at least the very basics, so you can learn what calls and puts are and things like that. But even that'll be explained, but it helps if you kind of have a familiarity there. That way you're able to kind of see the vision a little more clearly. 2, I reside in the UK. Therefore, the course schedule means it's unlikely that I can join the live tutorials. Will watching replays work? Yes. You have access to the replays for life. So that's an easy one. If after watching a recording of the class and I have any questions, will there be an opportunity to have questions answered? Yes. The questions are going to be answered mostly live during class. There will be a link in a portal where you can leave questions. I'll answer the questions and they'll be in the recording. So if you're joining later, you can leave your questions and then check the recording out to look for the answer. And then also I have assistants that are involved in the program as well that can make sure you get everything that you need. All right, so Ronald says, Doc, I purchased the Master Options Investing class You have a 48% discount on the stock options income generating program that ends today. Is this the same class or will it be different information? This is very different. I have never ever taught a class that focuses solely on the sell side of stock options in terms of income generation. I did do the master class, which was on the buy side, and explained all the different strategies of owning options to accelerate your income. That's stockoptionsmasterclass.com. This program is going to be completely different. It's focused solely on income generation through the sale of stock options, so I hope you guys like what you see. You can go to boycewatkins.com. Right there at the top of my website, the link is right there. You can look through it, read through it, see how comfortable you feel, and decide if you want to join us. We get started on July 7th. Dr. Boyce, I've been in your class for 10 months and I have 10,000 to invest. Should I invest 5,000 in ETFs and 5,000 in stocks, or 10,000 in stocks? Honestly, actually, depending on how you do it, either approach can work. Either approach can work. ETFs are nice because ETFs give you natural diversification. So if I'm talking to a beginner about getting involved in stocks, I say, ETFs are a good way to go because an ETF will kind of get you started in terms